The first thing Elias Thorne did was grab her leg and press it down, hard, while she screamed and clawed at the dirt from far away. It would have looked like a mountain man pinning a young woman beneath a fallen tree, alone in the heat, with no road, no house, and no witness in sight. Her habit was torn, her breath came fast and broken, and her eyes were wide with a fear that didn't belong to accidents. She'd crawled under that fallen pine to die quiet, because the men behind her were still close enough to hear her cry. She kicked once, weak and shaking, and Elias didn't let go. He leaned in, his shadow cutting across her face, his hands firm, his posture final. To anyone who stumbled onto that clearing, it would have looked like the moment before something unforgivable. The sun sat high and unmoving over the San Juan foothills. The grass was dry enough to snap, and the air felt empty, like the mountains were holding their breath. No bird, no wind, no sound but her breathing and the slow creak of leather from Elias's gloves. She tried to pull away again, and the pain took her voice. Then the words spilled out, thin and desperate. He did. She swallowed and shook, her fingers digging into bark. Elias lowered his head, eyes fixed on the blood darkening the dust. When he shifted his grip to check the wound, her body locked in panic. It split open. Those words landed like a verdict, not because of how bad the injury was, but because of what it meant. This wasn't a fall. This wasn't a slip on rock or a thorn in the brush. This was done. Elias eased the pressure just enough to let her breathe, but not enough to let her bolt. Easy, he said, low and steady. She didn't hear him. Her eyes were somewhere else, caught in a memory that hadn't let go. Elias had seen wounds before. He'd seen men bleed out under hotter suns than this one. What stopped him cold now wasn't the blood. It was the shape of it. The cut wasn't clean. It wasn't quick. It had intent. He scanned the tree line without moving his head. Boot prints pressed into the dust, heavier than hers. Angled downhill. A smear of dried blood on a rock where someone had stopped and waited. Whoever did this hadn't run. They'd walked away. Elias reached for his coat slowly, making sure she saw his hands. He wrapped it around her waist and thigh, tight enough to help, careful enough not to tear it further. She flinched, then froze, watching his face for the lie she expected. "I'm not him," he said. Her lips trembled. They all say that. That was the real danger. Out here, a misunderstanding could kill faster than any knife. If she bolted, she'd bleed out. If he let go, she'd collapse. If someone else came over that ridge right now, Elias knew exactly how it would look. He shifted his weight and knelt lower, blocking her view of the open ground behind him. That's when he heard it. A small sound, stone sliding somewhere above them. Not wind, not an animal, a step that didn't want to be heard. Elias made his choice. He lifted her, one clean motion, strong and practiced, and set her against his horse. She cried out, then bit it back. He checked the bandage again, quick and precise, like a man who'd done this with shaking hands and gunfire nearby. That's when she knew he'd done this before. "You can hold the saddle," he said. She did, knuckles white. Her eyes never left the trees. Elias swung up behind her, steadying her with one arm, the other already turning the horse toward the narrow trail. The trail that didn't show on maps, the trail he'd cut himself years ago when he stopped wanting neighbors. As they moved, she whispered again, "Weaker now?" He did. Elias didn't ask who. Not yet. He already knew there was a man out there who wouldn't let this end quietly. The cabin was still a mile off, tucked into rock and pine, hidden from the main track. A place built for weather and solitude, not visitors. Elias knew it wouldn't hold forever if someone came hunting, but it would hold long enough to close a wound and buy time. Before they reached the trees, she finally looked back at him. Her voice shook, but it held. "You're not going to finish it, are you?" Elias didn't slow the horse. "No," he said. "I'm going to close it." The trail dipped, and the heat lifted just enough to breathe. Behind them, the clearing stayed quiet. Too quiet, right here. Before this goes any further, one thing matters. This story has been gathered and retold with care. shaped to carry lessons, meaning, and human truth while honoring the time it comes from. Some details are adjusted to strengthen that truth, and all visual illustrations are created by AI to deepen emotion and understanding. If this isn't your kind of story, that's all right. Rest well. Take care of yourself. But if it pulled you in, if you felt that moment under the mountain sun, leave a comment and let me know, because there are more stories like this waiting. The horse picked up speed, hooves dull against the dust. Elias kept his eyes forward, but his mind stayed behind, measuring distance, counting steps, listening for pursuit. He knew men like the one who did this. They didn't leave loose ends. She sagged against him, exhaustion setting in. And Elias adjusted his grip without thinking. The mountains didn't judge. They only remembered. So ask yourself this now. While the trail narrows and the shadows grow, if the first man who found her looked like her next monster, what happens when the real one comes back to claim her? And this time, there are witnesses who won't understand the difference. Elias didn't slow the horse until the trees swallowed the trail, and the air cooled just enough to breathe. Only then did he turn his head and look down at the woman leaning against his chest. Her eyes were half closed, her grip on the saddle loose but stubborn, like she refused to fall even while her body begged to quit. "You're still with me," he said. She nodded once. That was enough. The cabin came into view through the pines, low and weathered. Built into the rock like it was trying to disappear. Elias had put it there on purpose. Men who wanted company built closer to roads. Men who wanted peace built where only trouble would go looking. He lifted her down carefully, every movement measured, and carried her inside. The door closed behind them with a dull thud that felt heavier than it should have. Inside, the cabin smelled of old wood, coffee grounds, and iron. Simple, lived in. Elias set her on the table near the window where the light was best. He washed his hands without saying a word, the way men did when they knew time mattered. She watched him the whole time, eyes tracking every motion. "You're a long way from town," she said, her voice steadier now but thin. He gave a short nod. "That's the point." He cut away the ruined fabric carefully. No rush, no panic, just work. The wound was worse in daylight, not wide, but deep enough to make his jaw tighten. Again. Not an accident. Elias cleaned it, stitched it, and wrapped it with the kind of care that came from practice, not kindness. Pain made her gasp once, and she bit down and held still. He noticed that too. Most folks would have screamed, he said. She managed a small breath that might have been a laugh. "I learned early that screaming doesn't stop men like him." That was the first time she said it with clarity. Not panic, not shock. Him. Elias stepped back and finally met her eyes. "Who?" She hesitated, then said it. "Silas Vance." The name landed heavy in the cabin. Elias didn't react right away. He turned, reached for a kettle, and set it on the stove like the world hadn't shifted. But inside, something old and sharp woke up. Silas Vance didn't just buy land, he took it. Didn't just run mines, he bled them. Men like him wore clean coats and spoke softly while other people paid the price. She watched Elias closely. "You know him," she said. Elias nodded once. "I know the kind." She told him the rest in pieces while he worked. She was a sister at a small mountain convent, quiet, forgotten by most. Silas used it as cover, donations flowing in, questions flowing out. She found a small ledger where it didn't belong. Names, places, numbers that didn't add up unless people were dying. "I took it," she said. "Not because I was brave, because I couldn't put it back." Elias didn't ask where it was. Not yet. The answer would come when it had to. Outside. Something snapped. A twig. Too close. Elias went still. He crossed to the window without looking suspicious and peered through the glass. Nothing moved, but the woods had gone quiet again. The wrong kind of quiet. He checked his rifle, then the back door. Still shut. Still barred. "They'll come," she said softly. Elias didn't argue. He knew men like Silas didn't stop until they were satisfied or stopped. When night fell, it fell fast. Elias lit one lamp and left the rest dark. He moved furniture just enough to clear lines of sight. No speeches, no drama, just preparation. She tried to stand and nearly went down. He caught her and eased her back. "You're not fighting tonight," he said. She looked at him, stubborn even now. "I can help." He shook his head. "You already did." The first shot came from the tree line, not meant to hit anything, just a message. Elias didn't answer it. Men who fired warning shots wanted a response, a voice carried through the dark, calm and confident. "Hand her over and walk away. No one needs to get hurt." Elias leaned against the wall and breathed out slow. He'd heard that line before. It always meant the opposite. Another shot. Closer. She looked at him then. Fear back in her eyes. "If you give me to them,